My name is Callan Rourke, and on June 12, 2017, my entire life changed in a way I never saw coming. I grew up and spent most of my life in a little town called Maple Hollow, nestled deep in the hills of eastern Tennessee. It's one of those places where folks wave at each other from their porches, and everybody knows your business whether you like it or not. I worked as a residential electrician, the kind of guy people called when the power went out or the ceiling fan sparked in the middle of the night. I was a hands-on, practical man. I liked things that made sense. Religion, faith, all that spiritual stuff never really took root in me. My mom, Evelyn, had always been the believer in our family. She'd tell me things like, "Callan, there's more to this life than what you can hold in your hands." I loved her, respected her, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. If I couldn't touch it, wire it, or test it, it didn't feel real. I figured some people needed that kind of hope to get through the hard stuff. I thought I didn't. Then came that hot June afternoon, the kind where the air sticks to your skin and everything feels a little heavier. I just finished rewiring a busted fuse panel at a farm on the edge of town. Nothing unusual, but when I got in my truck and turned the key, something wasn't right. My chest felt tight, my vision started to blur, and my hands began to shake so bad I could barely grip the wheel. It felt like my body was shutting down, like something deep inside me was letting go. I grabbed my phone and somehow managed to call my mom. My voice was so weak I barely recognized it. "Mom, something's wrong," I said. She didn't hesitate. "Get to Maple Hollow General. Right now. I'll meet you there." I don't remember the drive, just flashes. I remember stumbling through the emergency room doors and everything going dark. Completely dark. But what came after that darkness wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The next thing I knew, I was no longer in my body. I know how crazy that sounds, but it's the truth. One second I was collapsing in that hospital lobby, and the next I was floating above it all, looking down at myself lying on a stretcher as doctors and nurses scrambled around me. I could hear them shouting, moving fast, trying to bring me back. It was like watching a movie, except it was me. And yet, somehow I wasn't scared. I wasn't panicking. I felt completely calm, like a heavy weight I didn't even know I was carrying had finally been lifted off. There was a kind of stillness I had never known before. A quiet so full, so thick. It was almost like it had a presence of its own. I looked at my hands, or what I thought were my hands. They looked like light, almost transparent. There was no pain, no fear, no confusion, just peace. I could see my mom in the waiting room, crying and praying, but I couldn't reach her. I wanted to tell her I was okay, better than okay, but she couldn't see me. I wasn't in the same place anymore, not really. Then something started to pull me. It wasn't a sound or a voice, not exactly. More like a feeling, a calling. Something deep and powerful was drawing me upward. I looked toward the ceiling, but it was gone. Instead, there was this cloud, glowing, alive, like it was made of light itself. It opened up in front of me, and a path appeared. It wasn't a normal road. It shimmered like it was made from glass and stars all at once, stretching out into this vast, endless brightness. At the start of the path, I saw 4 women. They weren't like anyone I'd ever seen before. They wore long white gowns that seemed to float around them, trimmed in deep purple sashes. Their faces weren't exactly visible, but I could feel their presence. They radiated something, love, maybe? Safety, whatever it was. I knew they weren't there to judge me. They were there to welcome me. And I knew, deep down in my soul, that I was being invited into something far bigger than anything I'd ever known. I started walking toward them, though it didn't feel like walking exactly. It was more like I was gliding, like the path itself was moving with me. And the closer I got, the more that sense of peace grew. It wasn't the kind of peace you feel sitting on a porch with a cup of coffee. It was deeper than that. It was like everything that had ever weighed on me. Guilt, fear, regret, pride was gone, completely stripped away. I felt light, like I was finally who I was always meant to be. Then, ahead of me, I saw a figure begin to form in the middle of the path. At first, I thought it might be another one of those glowing beings, but as I moved closer, I realized it wasn't. It was a man, not glowing, not floating, just standing there like someone you might pass on a back road in town. He wore plain clothes, jeans, a white shirt, boots. His hair was curly, silver in places, and his skin looked sun-worn, like he'd spent a life working with his hands. But it was his eyes that stopped me in my tracks. They looked straight through me, into every memory, every mistake, every piece of me, and not once did I feel ashamed. I didn't need to ask who he was. I just knew. This was Jesus. And even though I'd spent my whole life doubting, questioning, keeping my distance from anything religious, when I saw him, I didn't feel fear. I felt home. He walked up to me without saying a word and pulled me into a hug. Not just any hug. It was like being wrapped in the very source of love itself. I can't explain it right, but in that moment, I understood why people give their lives to him. That hug told me everything. That I was loved. That I was known. That I was safe. Then, he pulled back just a little and smiled. He didn't say a long speech or quote scripture. He just looked at me and said, "Callan, we've always been with you." And those words, they hit me like a wave. I thought I'd lived my whole life on my own terms, doing things my way. But in that one sentence, I realized I'd never been alone. Not once. After he spoke those words, he placed his hand gently on my forehead. And just like that, everything around us shifted. It was like the sky itself became a screen, and suddenly I was watching my entire life unfold in front of me. But not just watching, I was feeling it. Every moment, big or small. Every word I'd said. Every action I'd taken. It was all there. And not just from my perspective, I felt how other people experienced me, too. I saw myself as a little boy, sitting on the porch next to my mom, laughing at something she said. I felt her love in that moment, the kind that never wavered, not even on my worst days. Then I saw moments I wasn't proud of. Times I lost my temper, times I looked the other way when someone needed help. I felt the hurt I'd caused, even when I didn't mean to. And then I saw the good. The time I fixed old Mrs. Laney's heater in the dead of winter and refused to take a dime. The way she cried when the warmth came back into her house. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now I felt how much it had meant to her. It all became so clear. Nothing was wasted. Not a single second of my life had been meaningless. Every choice, every interaction, every act of kindness or carelessness, it all mattered. And the craziest part? The moments I thought were just me being decent, those weren't even from me alone. I realized I had been guided, gently nudged, supported the whole time. Jesus had been there, not controlling me like a puppet, but offering love and direction, even when I didn't recognize it. I had been so sure I was doing life on my own. I was wrong. As the life review faded, I looked back at Jesus. There was no judgment in his eyes, only understanding, only love. I felt stripped bare, but not in a bad way. It was like standing in the truth, not just about who I was, but about what life was really about. And let me tell you, it wasn't about money or titles or even success. It was about love. Real love. The kind that flows through you, not from you. Jesus stepped closer again, and I remember him placing his hand on my shoulder. Firm, steady, but comforting. He didn't need to say anything else. Everything I needed to know had already been spoken to my heart. But even in that silence, I felt a sense of direction, like he was showing me, not with words, but with presence, that this wasn't the end for me, that there was still something left for me to do. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to step away from that peace, that love. I'd never felt anything like it, but somehow, deep down, I knew I had to go back. That transition, from the most complete feeling I've ever had, back to a world of pain and struggle. It was hard. One moment I was surrounded by light, and the next, I was gasping for air under the harsh fluorescent lights of the ER. My mom was by my side, holding my hand so tightly her knuckles were white. Tears were running down her face, but the moment I opened my eyes, she smiled through them. "You came back," she whispered. I couldn't speak at first. My throat was dry, and my body felt like it had been through a war. But I managed a weak smile, because in that moment, I realized I had come back, but I wasn't the same. The doctors said it was an allergic reaction to some medication I'd been given earlier that week. They said my heart stopped for nearly 2 minutes, but nothing they could tell me explained what I had seen, what I had felt. For the first few days in that hospital bed, I just laid there, playing it all back in my mind. The hug, the words, the life review, the overwhelming presence of love. It wasn't a dream. I know what dreams feel like. This was something far beyond that. When I got home, everything felt different. The air smelled different. The ground under my boots felt different. I looked at people differently, too. The same folks I used to pass by without a second thought. Now I saw them. Like really saw them. Each person felt like someone with a whole story inside them. Pain, joy, struggles, purpose. I couldn't unsee it. It was like Jesus had opened a part of my heart that I never even knew existed. I went back to work not long after, but I couldn't go back to doing things the same way. Fixing a breaker box or replacing a faulty outlet used to feel like just another task, something to check off the list. But now, every call felt like an opportunity, not just to fix something physical, but to be present with people, to listen, to care. I remember this one job, not even a week after I was discharged. A lady named Mrs. Keene had a light fixture that kept shorting out in her kitchen. Normally I'd be in and out, no small talk, just get the job done. But that day, I noticed she seemed off. I asked her if everything was all right. First, she brushed it off. But then she broke down and told me her husband had passed just a few months earlier, and she'd been struggling to even get out of bed most mornings. We ended up sitting at her table for over an hour, just talking. I didn't say anything profound. I just listened. And at the end, she reached over and grabbed my hand and said, "Thank you, Callan. I thought I was invisible." That stuck with me, because before all this, I might have walked right past that moment. But now I saw what it really meant to just be there for someone. Not everyone understood the change in me. Some folks said I was acting off, like I'd gone soft or something. Even one of the pastors in town pulled me aside one Sunday and told me to be careful about sharing stories that might confuse people. I understood. I really did. But I also knew what I experienced was real. I wasn't trying to preach or push anything on anybody. I just wanted to live differently, more intentionally, with love at the center of it all. That's what Jesus showed me. Not in a lecture, but in that hug, that smile, that life review. Love is the whole point. There are still days I struggle, days I fall short, days I get frustrated or forget to slow down. But now I recognize those moments for what they are: chances to reset, to realign, to choose love over pride or patience over anger. And when I feel myself drifting, I remember that light, that feeling of being wrapped in perfect peace. I remember Jesus' voice telling me I was never alone, that he had always been with me, that he still is. As more time passed, I realized something else. That experience wasn't just meant for me to hold on to privately. It was meant to be shared, not to convince anyone, not to make someone believe what I believe, but to let people know that there's more. That life isn't just a bunch of random moments strung together. That what we do, how we treat people, how we speak, how we love, it all matters. Every second, every interaction. It's all connected in ways we can't always see from here. But over there, on the other side, you see it all clearly. I've told this story to a handful of people in town. Some believe me, some smile and nod, and some don't know what to think. That's okay. I don't need them to believe me. I just hope they feel the difference. That maybe, in the way I speak to them or help them, they get a glimpse of the love I encountered. The love that literally pulled me out of death and wrapped itself around me like a blanket. I didn't earn it. I didn't deserve it. But it was given to me anyway, fully and freely. And if he could do that for someone like me, a stubborn, skeptical small-town electrician, he can do it for anyone. So now, every morning I wake up, I try to ask myself one thing: how can I love better today? Not in a big, flashy way, just in the little things. Helping someone carry their groceries. Slowing down enough to really listen. Offering grace when someone's short with me. Because those moments, they aren't small. They're the ones that ripple into eternity. I saw it with my own eyes. I felt it, and I'll never forget it. If you're watching this and you've ever wondered if your life matters, if you've ever questioned whether there's something more, I'm here to tell you, there is, and you're not alone. You never have been. Jesus is real. His love is real, and it's bigger than anything you've ever imagined. I didn't believe it until I stood in it. And now, all I want to do is live a life that reflects even a fraction of that love. If this story touched something in your heart, please share it. Leave a comment, tell us your story, or just let us know you're out there. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so we can keep sharing these powerful encounters with you. We're in this journey together, one moment, one story, one soul at a time. Thank you for listening. God bless you.